wait for anything to load and coming upside down.
Yeah,
and then backwards.
that's all right.
Ooh,
Jose.
we gonna switch it up. No backwards for you. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Hey, you want this?
I tried to get my camera already.
No,
You don't want it.
this is better.
I keep telling them it don't matter. It don't matter.
Maybe it don't matter.
Because
Video
people are
quality
watching.
matters.
Okay, one, not really. But two,
yes, really.
Not really.
It don't matter to you. It matters though.
Not really.
There's more to it than just the HD quality.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ability to see a text message and talk at the same time.
Yeah, the camera I gave you had HDR lighting as well.
I don't want to hear from you. It took us 2 years to get you to move your camera so we didn't just see the top part of your head.
Listen. When we first came in here, I was like, man, I should get Brodny a chair that sits up higher.
I tried to have Doug give me a chair. He don't like us like that.
What is going on, LBHT crew? It is 2025. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, B. Happy New Year, Hendo. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope your year is off to a great start, but if not, it's going to get better starting right now. We are not streaming live once again because, hey man, Christmas and New Year's want to fall on Wednesdays this time around, but it is what it is. Hendo is gracious enough to join us once again. All right, what's that face for?
To be gracious. Happy New Year anyway.
Wow.
What do you mean gracious?
Gracious, kind, generous.
B said I'm evil, so I don't know.
That word has literally never come out of my mouth. We're saying thank you for sharing your time with us.
Anytime.
And I made it seem like I said Grinch.
I am that.
But yes, we'll be putting this on Facebook like we did last time. Look, man, there's a lot going on. The playoffs are getting ready to start. The Ravens are in. It looks like we're about to wrap up the AFC North, thanks to a little help from the Steelers. And, we'll see how this weekend goes. We haven't locked it up yet, but it's looking very promising. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about some Panthers a little bit, right? Game didn't quite go how we wanted it to go. Wasn't as competitive, but we're going to we'll preview this last game and then we'll talk about what they should be looking at in the offseason. We're going to talk about some QB carousel. There's going to be some movement going on this offseason, including our friend Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Okay. All right. We put a clip out from last 2 weeks ago when we talked about him on Court of Public Opinion, and we got some reactions from that video. So let's follow up on that this time around. But we don't have a Black History Fact again, do we?
Oh my God! The only time he asks that is when the answer is no. So he never asks when the answer is yes. And I feel like you should take that instinct and just not ask. So we're gonna start off.
We're supposed to start every show with a Black History Fact.
Every live show, yes. We're gonna start off with some Ravens and Browns talk, though.
Wow.
Okay, because if the Baltimore Ravens can successfully navigate the Dorian Thompson-Robinson experience, they will be AFC North champions in the year 2024. Did not think that I didn't think they would win the division this year. They're a little better, a couple games better than I thought they would be. I thought their O-line struggles would last a little bit longer. I for sure thought Cincinnati would be better than they are, because goddamn. But congratulations preemptively to the Baltimore Ravens, because I honestly I don't see how they will lose to Cleveland and DTR. What do you guys think about the upcoming game here? Do you think it's going to be a cakewalk? Do you think it's going to be one of those knockdown, drag out AFC North fights that I keep hearing about but never really see for some reason? What do you think?
What do you think, Hendo?
I think it's going to be an easy win. Right now, the Browns don't know if they're going to start DTR or if they're going to start Bailey Zappi. Like, they haven't really locked in on which quarterback they're going to use.
I forgot he was a real person. I'm sorry. That caught me by surprise.
And they have a ton of injuries. Myles Garrett is hurt. Jerome Ford. Like, I don't even think they really want to play this game. They say that they want to be spoilers, but they don't have the fight in them anymore. Even if DTR does start the game, he scored 9 points total in his last 2 games combined. The Ravens have the AFC North locked up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a win, right? And we might not even have to start our starters the whole game, depending on how it goes early on. Now, the NFL is smart enough to flex the game, so we're playing the same time as the Steelers. The Steelers are playing the.
They play the Bengals. They play the Bengals at 8:00. We play at 4.
Yeah. Oh, they flex the Bengals, the Steelers game, right? The Steelers and Bengals game.
Yeah.
So
that one still has playoff implications outside of just the division. So the Ravens and Browns are the early game. I guess early 4:30, and then the Steelers and Bengals are the night game on Saturday.
Okay. That was flexed, right? That wasn't the original.
That I'm not sure of.
Oh, okay. Well, I could have made something up. Whatever.
What happens when you catch yourself trying to give credit to NFL executive office?
Well, actually,
yeah.
What they actually do is week 18 they leave it to be announced.
Okay.
For the majority of the game, so they can kind of slide them in depending on playoff scenarios. So it really wasn't anything slated for those times. They just threw them in there.
Gotcha. So, and that game isn't a lock for the Steelers, because the way the Bengals have been playing, like B said, they should be a playoff team. Every game they've played this year has been, for the most part, competitive. They shoot themselves in the foot like no other team. You know,
yeah, their big problem is they can't stop anyone from doing anything, but you know they can score with the best of them in the NFL. Joe Burrow's having an outstanding season. He's leading the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. But the problem for Pittsburgh is going to be like, I don't know that even against a defense that bad that they'll just be able to keep pace with Cincinnati. So hopefully, you know, TJ Watt and crew will be able to slow Burrow down. Hopefully for the Steelers, they'll be able to slow that offense down and kind of keep it, you know, from going into an all-out shootout, because I don't see the Steelers getting up into the 30s and everything to try and keep pace with Cincinnati.
Well, they did that last time. I think the Steelers will end up winning the game, right? But it won't matter. And you know what? Maybe they won't. Who knows? Because at that point, I think the Ravens have it locked up. Right? Mm-hmm. They're gonna beat the Browns. They have it locked up. What do the Steelers have to play for at that point? Seeding, I guess.
Trying to get to Houston instead of Baltimore in round 1.
Facts.
So.
Facts. And also, they would like to possibly try to keep Cincinnati out the playoffs. The only reason that Pittsburgh scored 30 points the last time they played Cincinnati was because Joe Burrow threw an interception on their side of the field and he fumbled and they ran it back for a touchdown. So it wasn't even the Steelers offense that scored all the points, but they're trying to keep Cincinnati out the playoffs, because if Cincinnati wins, if the Dolphins lose, and if the Broncos lose, Cincinnati's in the playoffs, and many teams don't want to see them. So they have something to play for.
Cincinnati needs a few things to go their way other than just winning, right?
Yeah, they need Miami and Denver to lose.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be an interesting weekend. There's not much to talk about with the Ravens, right? I mean, the Browns. I mean, we can talk more about the Browns than the Ravens, because here's something that I brought up to B the other day with their quarterback situation. Deshaun Watson can't be their quarterback moving forward. However, he's going to be their quarterback moving forward because they can't get rid of him. I think you read something that they just redid his deal.
Yeah, they kind of I don't know if they added void years or what they did exactly, but they lessened the cap hits in later years. It didn't affect next year's cap hit, but it kind of guarantees that he'll be on the roster for the next couple of seasons. Doesn't guarantee that he'll be starting. He's going to be the most expensive backup in the history of all of professional sports, probably. And they're going to, I imagine, try to bring somebody in to compete. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how poorly he's played in Cleveland, considering how well he played in his last year in Houston. And obviously, his whole career in Houston, but it's a stark difference. And I mean, I guess as soon as they said 100% guaranteed, he said, "I quit."
He said, "Jackpot."
But I will see you on Monday.
Right.
Now, there's two routes that the Browns can go on. They can go into a draft, get their quarterback, and just have, like we said, the most expensive backup in QB history, or backup QB in NFL history. And that's the right move, right? Because they have a lot of talent there still. They're a talented team. They need good quarterback play. Or you keep the quarterback as a starter because owner says we're paying too much money to have him on the bench, and you blow the whole team up. Fire sale on anything worth anything and collect picks for the next 2 years. Cause I think they're on the hook for another 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah, at least 3.
I know there's rumors that Myles Garrett isn't too happy right now. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, the Ravens really need to put all their chips in to get him. Okay. I keep saying, that's our slogan here, hashtag defund the defense, but he's a special player and you do what you got to do to get special players. Mm-hmm. Going back to the Ravens real quick. We'll have a home game at least. We should win our first matchup. I don't care if it's the Steelers or whoever. Who will we play in the
Chargers?
The Chargers. Yeah. I'm not trying to overlook anybody, but I am. I don't have to play the game. I'm overlooking the first round.
Yes.
But how do you guys feel about the Ravens' chances, after we get out of the first round?
I'm just gonna look right past Pittsburgh and or the Chargers.
Yes.
So I mean, I was just playing around with their playoff machine. If the Steelers win their game against Cincinnati, they will be going to Baltimore in that first round. If they lose and the Chargers win, it'll be the Chargers going to Baltimore, and the. Actually, hold on. I think I got that backwards.
Yes.
If the Steelers win their game, they will be the 5th seed. They'll go to play Houston. If they lose their game and the Chargers win, then they'll be going to Baltimore, which is obviously not what either one of those teams really wants. I do think that Baltimore will get past the Chargers. I mean, I can't. I love Ladd McConkey. He should have been a Panther, but he's not going to carry that entire offense. And J.K. Dobbins, love J.K. Dobbins. I don't know that him coming back off an injury and trying to carry the load is a good a positive thing for them. If it's Pittsburgh, I mean, I just don't trust Russ in those big moments at this point. I really don't. I think he's prone to give you a turnover at the worst possible time. So I think Baltimore gets the win either way. Second round, I don't know, because Baltimore, they are the 3rd seed, so they will
play Buffalo.
Yeah, so they'll be going to Buffalo. And honestly, man, we've talked about it on the show before. I don't look at Buffalo as a major threat to Baltimore. I know that sounds like it's dismissing the Bills. The Bills are a very good team. Josh Allen's having a phenomenal season. I just don't think that they are going to match up well with Baltimore and be able to pull out that win, even at home.
Yeah, I have to agree. When it comes to the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh can't beat John Harbaugh. J.K. Dobbins, he got injured the last time he played us, so you really can't count on him being healthy. Lad McConkey, cool. He's doing his thing, but that's one guy. I know the other guy, Johnston, is the Panther killer, but he doesn't do it on a consistent basis. Jordan Palmer could be a threat, but they just run Greg Roman's offense. So Greg Roman's going to run them out of the playoffs. If we play the Steelers, I think the Ravens have finally broken that curse where we can't beat them. And Brodny said this before. Russell Wilson is only going to give you a half good season, and then he's going to fall off a cliff. And he actually did that this year. The last game they had, he had a back-breaking turnover that helped lose them that game. So I don't fear either one of these teams. So it would be second round on to Buffalo. Beat them earlier in the season. And the thing with that is we have the second or first ranked defense against the run. Yeah. And if we can take out James Cook, Josh Allen is not going to be the Josh Allen that he's been versus these last place teams that he's played against and look really well. We can shut down their wide receivers. We may have some issues with Shakir, but Buffalo doesn't scare me. And that just leads us right to, they just opening the door, rolling out the red carpet, leading us right to the AFC Championship in Kansas City.
Yeah, there is one way that Buffalo wins that game, and that's if they manage to get a hold of Gardner Minshew, the Raven killer. Lamar is 0-2 against Gardner Minshew.
Wow.
The Colts and the Raiders. If they can get a release over there in Vegas, and Buffalo picks him up, y'all better start sweating.
They're gonna take out Josh Allen and put in Gardner Minshew.
I would. Man can't lose to Baltimore.
It seems that way, man. It seems that way. I mean, but no, like I just think, anybody will have a tougher time against the more physical teams, right? Buffalo, we saw a couple weeks ago they struggled against the Patriots. The Patriots are a physical team. They're not that talented, but they are a physical team. In all honesty, they should have lost that game. The Jets game, they end up blowing them out, but early on, it was pretty close. That defense is a physical defense, but thanks to Aaron Rodgers giving absolutely nothing, and we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers here in a little bit, they were able to pull away. The problem they had with the Ravens early on was obviously Derrick Henry started out really hot with that big run, and they just weren't interested in tackling him at all. I think they'll be more focused on trying to stop Derrick Henry this time because he gashed him last time. But then you still have the problem with Lamar Jackson. That's going to open up a lot of things for him. And they're going to have a problem stopping us. Are they going to be able to score on us? Of course they can score on us. They're an excellent offense, right? Excellent team. But I think us being able to score and play physical football, even though our defense isn't great, we can lay those hits. We have Kyle Hamilton back there, and the secondary has been playing better. They play better now than we did the first time, and we're able to shut them down. I just don't see what they can do differently this time around to beat us.
Yeah, go ahead, Hendo.
I'm sorry. I heard that Matt Milano wasn't playing, so that's going to be the key difference in the game. And now that he's back, and even though he got shook last week, their defense is going to be a little bit better, but they have other pieces that are banged up on defense. They can't stop anybody. Luckily, they ran into a Patriots team that messed up around the goal line. The Jets had Aaron Rodgers. They couldn't stop the Rams whatsoever. And how do they think they're going to stop us? Our offense is better now than it was the first time we played Buffalo. So what are they going to do? Okay, you may slow down Derrick Henry. You're not going to stop him. But what's going to happen when Lamar gets out there? Zay Flowers has more confidence. Bateman is playing a lot better. And we finally got Mark Andrews into the fold. So what now? Because Mark Andrews was literally a blocker the first time we played him.
That's right.
Now we're deploying him. So how are you going to stop everything that we have? Yes, they can score. They score a lot of points. They have a very high point differential, but their point differential comes, I think it's plus 150 against sub 500 teams, and they're only a plus 6 when they play teams above 500. So they can get off on the bottom feeders, but when it comes to the real teams, they don't do as well.
Yeah, the way that they beat Baltimore, in all seriousness, is waiting for John Harbaugh to go John Harbaugh. If the Ravens come out and they stick to their identity, they run that ball, they let Lamar do his thing, and they don't go away from Derrick Henry, then I just don't think that, like you said, Jose, I don't think they're physical enough. I don't think they're talented enough to handle the Ravens. Defensively, they scored 10 points on Baltimore the first time they played them, and Baltimore was the worst defense in the league at that point.
Right.
They're playing much, much better now. And that's to say that they're going to repeat that and hold them to 10, but I'm just very confident that they will be able to get the stops that they need in this matchup to get past Buffalo. Especially if they really give. I mean, I know they don't announce it there, but like they give Josh Allen Lamar's MVP. I don't think it's going to go well for Buffalo at all.
Now, what you said about the Ravens playing their game and winning, that's how I feel about this whole playoff run, right? Because as well as the Chiefs have been all year, and we all know they're only going to turn it up in the playoffs, right? I still feel like if we play our game, we're the better team. I feel like if we don't, we don't get away from handing the ball to Derrick Henry, and just calling some better play calls, right, at the right time. Be a head coach. Don't shrink up in the moment. I think we go into Kansas City and we take care of business and we go on to the Super Bowl, and I think we demolish whoever comes out of the NFC. Right, whether it's the Lions or the Vikings, they always look good until they come up against a team like us.
The NFC teams are hurting, I think, a little bit. The Lions are an incredible offensive team. They have so many weapons; it's disgusting.
Yeah,
and Jared Goff is playing really well. But their defense is so hurt. I don't think that they will even get to the Super Bowl, let alone win it. Minnesota. I love Sam Darnold, man. I'm so happy for him that he's having such a great season. They're 14-2. I am very, very happy for Sam Darnold. If they win next week, they'll be 15-2 and the 1 seed, have home field throughout. I'm not afraid of Sam Darnold. I'm sorry. If I'm the Baltimore Ravens, if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, if I'm the Buffalo Bills, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, if I'm the Houston Texans, if I'm the Chargers, if I'm any of the teams that are playing in the AFC, I'm not afraid of Sam Darnold. I'm just not. Not that he couldn't beat any of them. Mm-hmm. He could probably beat Houston. He might be able to beat maybe beat the Chargers. He's not beating Kansas City. He's not beating Baltimore. He's not beating Buffalo. He's not even going to beat Pittsburgh. Let's be real.
He may not, but Brian Flores may devise a plan to help defeat them.
There you go.
If that plan does not include chopping off the hands of all of the opposing defensive backs, I'm not worried about it.
I mean, this is statistically, Sam Darnold has better numbers than Josh Allen in a lot of categories.
He's including interceptions. So, he likes to throw it to the other team a bit, man.
Patreon.com/LBHT Show. Exclusive content, early access, behind-the-scenes content. For just $5 a month, you will get access to the Overtime Show and the LBHT Crew Discord. Become a loyal supporter today.
All right, so we're going to move on. But before we move on, if you're watching this, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're new in here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Listen, we gave you guys a Christmas gift last week. All right, a free month of our Patreon, patreon.com/LBHT Show. There's still some spots available. I think I added a few more. So go on there. All right, click the link. It's in the last video. You gotta look at the Christmas video, the pin link that you see in there. Click on that, redeem it, and you'll get a free month of our Patreon, which will give you access to our Overtime Show and our Discord. All right. Now, if you want one of these nice shiny coins here, all right, you go over to Patreon and sign up for the $10 tier. That's not included. Okay, that's not included. Don't click the link and think you're gonna get a new coin, but you get access to the Overtime Show and our Discord, which whether you sign up long term or not, you're a part of Discord for good, unless you do something to get kicked out. Okay. So go over there and check it out. What do we got next, B?
Next, we got what everyone is here to talk about the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Michael Penix had a back and forth duel with Jaden Daniels of the Commanders last week. It was a great game. It was Penix's second start, I believe, and unfortunately, they came up with a lose again. Which means that it's coming down to the very last week for the NFC South, because despite what they say up north in the AFC, the best, most competitive division is in fact the NFC South, with the Saints and the Falcons and the Panthers and the Bucks. Now, the Buccaneers are going to be playing. Let me see who they have here. They're playing the Saints. Now, what that means, if you have not been following along with the saga in the NFC South, what that means is the Bucks are going to win this week, because the Saints are not in. And if the Bucks win, they are in. The Falcons need to beat Carolina, and they need New Orleans to show up and get a victory in order for them to win the division that they had been leading all along, with their $180 million man Kirk Cousins, who could not help but throw to the other team. They stuck with him too long, and they had made this switch to Michael Penix 3-4 weeks earlier. I think they would have. They have the division locked up at this point. But it's coming down to the end. Carolina caught a beating from Tampa Bay last week. It was obscene. I'm not sure why they were allowed to put that on television. But the Carolina Panthers defense, they're broken at this point. They've been hurt all season long. They've been playing hard, particularly during that stretch where they almost beat the Chiefs and the Eagles and everything. They're playing hard, but they're not talented enough. They're not healthy, and it's gone. It's over on the defensive side of the ball. Bryce Young played well. They're not overly talented on the offensive side of the ball either, so they were not able to put up too many points. Carolina desperately needs the end of the season at this point, right? Because it's been a nice turnaround for Bryce, and the fan base is very excited. Fan base is believing that they have their quarterback, they have their coach, but the team is just not really good enough to win games consistently. And at some point they were just going to fall off, and we've kind of hit that point now. But they can still beat the Falcons. The Falcons are the Falcons. They're nothing special. Not going to predict a win here, just because of the way the defense has been performing. But like I said, it's not really going to matter in terms of the division, because Tampa Bay is going to take out New Orleans. I think for the Falcons, they can take solace in the fact that I believe they have their quarterback as well in Michael Penix. They've got a lot of young talent with Bijan Robinson. They've got, I don't really want to put them on the list, but Kyle Pitts. They got Drake London. They've got some guys on that side of the ball, and they have some talent on defense as well. They can turn things around with Raheem Morris. It's just not going to happen for them this year.
Yeah. I think the Panthers got what they needed to get out of this season, right? It's something that Panthers fans, I think, have been going back and forth with really for after week 2, when Bryce Young got benched, and it was like, well, is it time to tank? The season just started. We're not winning with Andy Dalton, but then, you did win with Andy Dalton the first week, and it's like, oh, well, can you compete? No, can't compete. No, Andy Dalton's look like Andy Dalton again. Something needs to happen. Oh, he got hit by a car. Now Bryce Young is back. Oh, here we go. We're tanking for our next QB. Who are the next QB going to be? Oh, wait. Bryce looking all right. He's looking all right. We could have won that game. Then it's like, oh, he's looking all right 2 weeks in a row. Now he's looking good. Then, you have about 3 weeks where it's like, we should have won that game. Wasn't Bryce's fault. We should have won that game. He's established himself as the QB, which is huge. It's like having 2 top first round picks, right? Because you start the season thinking you got to start over. You got to tank for a QB, and it turns out you got your QB, and you're gonna have a top first round pick. Now I know B wanted the highest one possible, so you could trade back and acquire some more picks, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Get the best talent available, and you got to really assess the team this offseason, who you want to keep, what side do you want to focus on to get better, and that's not a easy question because obviously you're gonna need some help at wide receiver. I know you have your eye on T. Higgins, that all depends on what T. Higgins wants to do, what the Ravens want to do.
Exactly.
It doesn't depend at all. They're not going to be in the same conversation.
Yeah, we're not going to be in the same conversation.
T. Higgins is going to be having a conversation about getting paid $30+ million a year. Baltimore's going to be having a conversation about, hey, where can we find our fourth wide receiver?
They're going to say, hey, you ever heard of Jimmy Seafood? Okay, we can. I mean, lifetime, bro.
All you can eat.
Yeah, just you got that. No, but yes, like there's a lot of things they have to look at. Free agency, what they get there and going into the draft, and really, what do you want to focus on? Like defense is another thing you can look at. I know you had a couple injuries there too, but like you can go in both. You can go in both directions in terms of building the team up. I don't think it'll take that much to make you guys very competitive next year.
Yeah, I think that it's all going to, where they go in the offseason is going to hinge on what they do at wide receiver in the free agency period. If they are able to land T. Higgins, that'll be huge for them. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people going to be interested in T. Higgins. He's going to want a lot of money. Bryce playing the way he has down the stretch, I think, is going to be a plus for Carolina in terms of trying to lure him away from Cincinnati and other teams.
Right.
They're going to have to just find the money because they have not managed their finances well. But they do have the cap guy from Kansas City, so I'm not worried about that part of it. Mm-hmm. So let's assume they're able to land T. Higgins. At that point, you're going into the draft and you're saying, hey, I need the best defensive player available. Whether that's Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, one of the other guys, Pierce or Will Johnson from Michigan. I would be very happy if this draft was entirely about the offensive and defensive lines. They've done a good job of building up the offensive line. They overpaid for Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis in theory, but those guys have played very well. They were a big part of kind of turning that unit around, but they do still have some holes there moving forward. They're going to have to eventually replace Taylor Moton. I hate to say it, but you're still not 100% solid on Ekwonu being the left tackle of the future. He wasn't awful this season, but you want to get that position as good as possible, right? And then at center, Austin Corbett's up with another injury. And then you're always going to need depth on the whole line. Always. Defensive line. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Defensive line, they've got Derek Brown. So we're going to need to fill in all the rest of that.
Anybody else?
Sean Robinson, I think, can stay. There's a couple of guys who maybe can stick around, but talent-wise and depth-wise, they're nowhere close on the D-line right now. If you pair Derek Brown with an Abdul Carter, Derek Brown with a Mason Graham, that's going to go a long way towards kind of shoring up the front seven there, but they're going to have to hit the defensive side of the ball hard in free agency. And I'm not talking about stars. I'm talking about they're going to have to go out and just get competent starters. Yeah. I think that Shaq Thompson is probably – I think he should be gone. I don't know if they will actually move on from him. He tore, I believe, his Achilles earlier this year. He's a fan favorite. And he is a very productive player when he's healthy, but he's getting a bit older. He's making a good amount of money, and you just drafted Trevin Wallace. If I'm them, I'll move on from Shaq Thompson right now and try to get a bit younger at that position. They have to get a number 2 corner to play across from J.C. Horn. Ideally, you want to get a few corners because I don't think that J.C. Horn is worth what he's going to be asking for. But they have a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball, but they've got high picks in every round, obviously, so they can go a long way towards turning around that unit if Dan Morgan really is that guy.
Okay, so they're done paying the ransom note for the trade that they made to get Bryce.
Yeah,
Yes, Antoine.
I mean, they gave him a boatload of picks. I'm just
and one number one receiver in his prime who had already been paid. Yes, I'm aware.
I'm just asking if they were done. I'm just
I'm aware of what they've given up.
Listen, because I love my little cousins. Like they made big strides this season, and I think that it's a best case scenario for them that Bryce Young's father cut Andy Dalton's brakes. Now we see that the team does not need a quarterback, so that's not a first round pick that you have to waste. You know that Bryce Young can actually be that guy. Even with the weapons that he has, they're not real weapons. I love Adam Thielen. He's not the Adam Thielen that he used to be, but they made it work. So if you actually get him that T. Higgins, which may be a long shot, I don't know what's going on there because T. Higgins just signed with Jamar Chase's agent. I don't know if they're trying to finagle or work something out to keep him in Cincinnati. If not, I heard he's coming to Baltimore. But if you guys can get him, I think that can take Bryce Young to the next step. And you've done an excellent job upgrading the offensive line, which I think y'all should have done to actually see what you had with your quarterback. Because your team was horrible from front to back last season. And this season you made great
No, go ahead.
I was saying this season you made great strides. And if it hadn't been for key injuries, especially to Derrick Brown, gosh, because that's like the only guy you got on defense.
But you know what? They played hard though.
And some games they showed up. Some games,
you know what's incredible too? It's like you go out there and you don't have the talent, obviously, right? And some weeks you just get blown out like they did this week with Tampa. Some weeks they did show up and they played really hard. They kept things close. They kept the offense in it against Kansas City. They kept them in it, for the most part against Philly. But then you look at other teams like Baltimore who have all the talent and just get carved on the regular in the back end.
Not anymore. Okay, that was the first 14 games.
Yes, not anymore.
Okay, not anymore.
We'll see when they start playing some competent quarterbacks again.
Jose, I really didn't pay attention to much football this weekend.
We shut down Josh Allen. Hello.
That was so long ago.
I didn't watch much football this weekend. Really, how many points did Baker Mayfield put up this weekend? Was it 48? Who's put up 48 on the Ravens?
That was a lot.
He didn't do that against us.
It was a lot of points.
Without Chris Godwin.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they had to get the young guy out there, get him some work too, and it's just like they had to get Bucky Irvin out there, and this is, I mean,
he's gonna be a weapon for them.
He's gonna be,
I just don't know. Like I said, once y'all start playing some competent quarterbacks, we'll see if the defense is really fixed.
Okay. All right, hey, we'll see. All right, so speaking of quarterbacks, is it time?
It's time. I believe it's time. So yeah, there's been a lot of stories at quarterback this season. Hendo mentioned one of them just now in Baker Mayfield, who, by the way, has 15 interceptions on the season. He's third in the league in that category. I just want to throw that out there. But Baker's played very, very well. He played very well. I don't want to, no shade to Baker. I like Baker. Yeah. But there's a lot of stories out there, and there's a lot of uncertainty going into the next season, and it happens a lot when there's not a lot of confidence in the incoming quarterback class as well. But I want to go through some guys and just kind of give your thoughts or your prediction on where you think they end up next season, whether it's with their current team, whether they hit free agency, get traded, or whatever. We're going to go ahead and start this one off. I think we'll start off with an easy one. We kind of talked about this guy a little bit, mentioned him earlier. We were talking about the Falcons. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was paid $180 million coming off a torn Achilles at the age of 35. Mm-hmm. Not a sound investment, you might say. That's all. Not a sound investment. They also used the top 10 pick on Michael Penix to be their quarterback of the future, which turned out to be he turned into quarterback of the present because Kirk Cousins went out there and he threw 18 touchdowns and 16 interceptions and got himself benched. Now they can cut him before a roster bonus next season, early in the offseason. And they're going to take like a hit of 37 million, somewhere in that range. Mm-hmm. Or they just keep him and have a super expensive backup. What do y'all think?
He's cut. And let him go.
He's up out of there. He went swag surfing to just get the hell out.
You think he can get traded?
No, I don't think so. He's too old, not good enough, too much money. It's gonna be cut or stay. I think he gets cut as well.
He's cut. That's he's gone.
Now,
right. The only question is there?
Where is he going?
Oh, that's easy. Welcome to New York, Kirk Cousins. Now, which New York? Which New York? I don't know. Listen, I can make a strong case for both of them.
Right.
Obviously, the Giants, they don't, they're near the top of the draft, and the obvious choice is quarterback. But one small little problem for the New York Football Giants organization, the top quarterbacks aren't the shade that they prefer. Okay, they don't do black quarterbacks, and they not about to start now. They are going to pay somebody in free agency so they do not have to draft one of these quarterbacks. I guarantee it.
It's complected or complicated. That's fine.
So that's for the Giants. But that's for the Giants. The case for the Jets, which is similar. Obviously A-Rod ain't going to get it done for them anymore. You got players threatening to flat out quit. Just they're going to ask for a trade. They're looking to get into free agency to get away from this man. So Woody Johnson is going to be forced to let his buddy go. Who does he want to replace him with? Somebody a little bit more like-minded. Okay. Somebody a little more, in line with his values, so to speak.
Right.
I can see him ending up with the Jets.
Now, okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that Kirk is too old and not reliable enough to land a spot like that. But
what's his? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What's his Madden rating?
that last update is going to be crucial. But you did mention a team that has certain proclivities at that position. And that was the New York Giants, and they parted ways with a quarterback as well this season, Daniel Jones, who looks an awful lot like Kirk Cousins. And is going to come much cheaper. Now, might he be an option for the New York Jets? He's currently in Minnesota. Minnesota has 3 quarterbacks. We all know that Daniel Jones is not part of the conversation there in Minnesota. So he's going to be hitting free agency. And where do you think this guy? You think he's going to pick up a starting job, Hendo?
Oh, no, he's not starting anywhere. He's going to go be the backup in Indianapolis.
He's going to go be the backup in Indianapolis. Okay. That was, with certainty, Hendo throws that down. He's taking Joe Flacco's job?
Yes.
I don't think he's better than Joe Flacco right now.
He's not, technically. But, Joe's been throwing some interceptions lately, and I think they may be getting tired of him.
Okay. Well, and I just want to point out, obviously, this is a kind of we can say QB carousel. One domino has to fall, and it kind of puts everybody else in place. So obviously, we don't know where these guys are going. So we're just going to take it individually, kind of in a vacuum, and say, hey, where these guys could end up. Daniel Jones, man, I agree. I don't think he's going to get a starting job. I think he needs to find himself a soft landing spot where he can get coached up for a year or two and try to reboot his career. I've often said that the league has a coaching problem particularly at quarterback. There's more guys that can play the position physically than ever before, but they just don't get developed mentally when they get to the NFL. They kind of force them out there. And if it doesn't work immediately, these coaches are going to move on because they're worried about keeping their own job and they don't have the security, right? So I think Daniel Jones needs to find a spot. And I'm going to say that his spot should be in Green Bay because Green Bay brought in a quarterback this season in Malik Willis and did a little rehab on him. The Tennessee Titans gave up on Malik very quickly, which is why I'm kind of confused about why everybody loved Mike Vrabel so much. Whatever. They traded him to Green Bay. Jordan Love gets hurt. He comes in, And I'm not going to say he played, the best football you've ever seen, but he played well. He won them games, and I think he rehabbed his image a bit. Do you think, Jose, that Malik Willis has a shot to get out of Green Bay this offseason and maybe fight for a starting spot somewhere else?
Is he a free agent this offseason?
He's not a free agent, I don't believe. Actually, let me pull it up and look real quick. He is going to be, he's under contract this year. This is his last year. He's a free agent 2026.
Okay, so next season he's under contract.
Yes.
So no, I don't think he goes anywhere. Yeah, it had to be via trade. I don't think he gets traded. I think he stays, and I think that is the right move for everybody, right? Green Bay, they know how to develop quarterbacks, and it seems like the longer you sit, the better you get. And look, he looked good in the couple of games that he got to get in there and play. Another year in that system, I think he'll be ready to be a starter somewhere. Still gonna be young, and he might even get to play in a couple of games next year. Depending on how good Green Bay is, maybe he gets to play down the stretch or play late, in the fourth quarter, something like that. Like he'll get on the field, I think, and get to showcase his skills. And this time next year, we'll be talking about him possibly a starter for another team.
Hendo, what do you think?
Yeah, Malik's staying where he is. Unless there's some kind of quarterback injury and they need somebody to come in and fill in. Other than that, he's staying in Green Bay.
I'm going to say that he moves. And I'm going to say he moves because of the perceived weakness of the quarterback class, right? I can see a team like the Vegas Raiders saying, you know what, we're going to take Travis Hunter and we're going to send our second-round pick to Green Bay for Malik Willis. We're going to fire Antonio Pierce. We're going to pair him with an offensive-minded head coach because, again, if you can get an elite prospect like Travis Hunter and still potentially take care of your quarterback issue, I think that that's a great move for you. And for Green Bay, if they wait, they're getting that third round comp pick, which is essentially a fourth round.
Now, do you think? Now, take logic out of it, okay? Because we're logical people here. But do you think the culture in the NFL would view Malik Willis more as a starter than Daniel Jones, who they can just pick up in free agency and not have to pay him that much? Who and to be fair, he's had a lot of starting experience, and we also say he's got all the tools. He just makes poor decisions. I could see a coach being tricked by him and saying he could be your guy.
I could see it. I don't think a team is going to pick up Daniel Jones as a starter. I don't think they're going to just say, hey, this is the guy, and hand the reins over to him. So in a scenario like that, it would be maybe we trade for Malik Willis, sign Daniel Jones as a backup, let him battle it out in camp and see what's what. And that could be anywhere else, even if it doesn't involve bringing in Malik Willis. I think Daniel Jones is showing up on a prove-it deal, and he's going to have to prove it in training camp, in preseason, before he gets that shot to be the man.
See, I asked you to think logically, and you failed. I don't think they would look. I think they look more at Malik Willis that way than they would Daniel Jones, right? Because Malik Willis hasn't played that much, I don't think somebody would look to sign him as a starter. And if somebody wants to go the quote unquote safer route, we don't want to get the third or fourth best QB in the draft, and we want just a starter. I think Daniel Jones, because he has starting experience, would be more appealing than Malik Willis. I would go with Malik Willis, right? But I don't think most teams would.
Now, again, I'm just going to put this out there because, obviously, like I said, he doesn't have much experience, because despite being drafted in the third round to be potentially the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, he only played a few games there. He started 3 games for Tennessee in over 2 years. But in Green Bay, he started 2 games. He was 2-0. 30 for 41, that's 73% completion percentage, 414 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Yeah. He played he played well in that limited role. He also had 135 yards rushing and another touchdown. So I think that it depends on obviously the organization that you're going to. If it's I know not this team because he just came from there, but if it's the Giants, yes, the Giants are going to take Daniel Jones because the Giants want their quarterback to look a certain way. Carolina was like that as well. When Cam came in, their former owner was like, "Oh, well, make sure you don't get any tattoos. Keep your hair cut short," because they want a certain image they have a certain image of what a starting quarterback looks like, a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
If there's a team who is just worried about winning, I think Malik Willis they're going to see Malik Willis as a much better option than Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones has a lot more experience, but that experience was showing you that he is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Right. But we'll see. If I'm Green Bay, I'm trying to move him this offseason just to avoid having him walk and potentially get just a third round comp pick for him, or even less, depending on kind of contract he gets at that point. But I'm going to try and push him on somebody while you have this weaker class, and I'm going to try and get him to a place where I think he can thrive as well. Somewhere like Seattle. What are we doing with Geno Smith here? What are we doing with Geno Smith after this season? He was a feel-good story after being denied the chance to really develop into a franchise quarterback. He had to sit the bench and bounce around the league for a number of years. Seattle took a chance on him. He earned a big contract from Seattle. This season didn't go great. And so now you're wondering, hey, are we going to run it back with Geno? They have a new head coach in Mike McDonald there. They brought in Sam Howell. That was clearly not the answer. He got on the field a few times, and he was just like, I'm screaming no directly into your ear. So what do you guys think on Geno? Is Geno coming back as the starter for the Seattle Seahawks, or do you think that maybe they're going to start looking in another direction? Just for reference, Geno is 34. He had 17 touchdowns, 15 interceptions this season. He did throw for over 4,000 yards and complete 70% of his passes, but again, not a whole lot of touchdowns, a lot of interceptions. They haven't looked great. They're a pretty inconsistent team.
Yep.
But also keep in mind, god-awful offensive line.
That's a pretty amazing stat.
Yeah.
Like, he's very accurate. He's a very accurate QB. He's going to complete most of those passes, but when he doesn't,
he's still complete. But not
he's still complete. So that is a tough one because they're not in a position to draft one of the top quarterbacks.
Right.
I think McDonald would like to go in a different direction, but he's smart and he knows that option may not be there for him, and he can easily write this off and say, hey, this is our first year together. Yes, the O-line is bad, and like you said, like, completed a high percentage, a lot of yards. We got to clean up the turnovers. We can fix that. We can run it back with you because we don't really have another choice, and we don't have anybody that we can groom right now to take over. We just kind of just have to ride this out. This is our best option. You're starting to learn. I'm a new head coach. This is a new staff. Let's not make any rash judgment right now, and let's just run it back. I think that's the best move for them.
Try to put your personal bias aside.
Like you said, he's a fraud. Like you said. And shout out to Geno Smith for turning his career around. When he came from New York, like, all was lost. He bounced around. He's done well for himself. Did he deserve that big contract? Maybe not. But he was Pete Carroll's guy. He's not Mike McDonald's guy. And most head coaches want to come in with their guy, especially if their career is tethered to one position. So to me, I think that they let him go, and he's going to go to New Orleans. He's going to take over for Derek Carr.
Okay. I'm going to say, one, yes, he did deserve that contract. He had an outstanding year. Outstanding year. Okay, and he was a free agent. You have to sign him at that point. So it's not like they gave him $40 million a year, Daniel Jones.
About
and,
Zach
and it
Cousins.
wasn't a long term deal. He absolutely deserved it, every bit of it, especially since the league robbed him of his career.
Yeah.
I think he comes back, and I think that this is a good landing spot for a guy like Dylan Gabriel. So you can keep him in the Northwest, and he gets to sit behind Geno for a year or two while you rebuild that O-line. You've got DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba there already, who are going to be the 1 and 2 for the foreseeable future in Seattle. You got Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. So you've got everything around him. You let Geno go out there, and he can continue to play, like I said, for another year or two while you rebuild that O-line, through the draft, through free agency, and then Dylan Gabriel can come in and take over a year or two down the line, because I don't think he comes in and starts immediately anywhere. So these last few are where it gets a little more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
First up, we've got just one of the grittiest, moxiest quarterbacks you've ever seen, Brockward Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who turned that into being one of the top quarterbacks in the league, according to some people. Who he was one of the top candidates for MVP last year. Mm-hmm. He is eligible for an extension this offseason. Do you give Brock Purdy, because he is up for an extension, he's eligible for an extension this offseason, do you give Brock Purdy a market rate extension for a quarterback, and do you think the 49ers will?
No, I do not give him a market rate. I don't think the 49ers will. And he's played well. He's outplayed his draft status by far. But I think the biggest thing with the 49ers is anytime they're missing one part of the Justice League, he does not play well. He does not play well at all. Even in the game last night, he threw 2 bad picks. Mm-hmm. And this was his proven year. This is his contract year. You would have thought that he would have upped his game. He came out in the preseason talking about, I'm going to be the next Tom Brady, and just slinging it around. And that's what he's doing, being careless. And his coach warned him about that. I don't think that they bring him back because I don't think that they value the quarterback position as much, because we've seen Kyle Shanahan take average quarterbacks, except for Trey Lance, and turn them into somebody. So I think that they let him go, maybe, quite possibly, get a Sam Darnold, bring him back to the 49ers because he was in the system last year, and let him take over. And then Brock Purdy goes to Tennessee and is their starting quarterback.
Jose?
All right, so me and B have gotten into, we actually got into a heated argument about this.
I wanted to let you know that the 49ers did come out and say that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, sure. That was the argument. I think Kyle Shanahan's getting fired. And okay, they came out and said they're not going anywhere. We'll see.
You're not saying that 1 week before coaches get fired. And then
I will. Okay, let me tell you the story about how John Harbaugh got this job in Baltimore, because
that was different. That was different because Brian Billick offended his master. Okay.
He literally said the week before the last game, which was against the Dolphins, the winless Dolphins, Bisciotti came out and said that Billick isn't going anywhere. Right? I remember that because I was very sad. And we lost that game to the Dolphins.
Yep.
And everybody looked at Brian Billick and said, "Are you sure?" He's like, "No, I'm not keeping this guy. So I'm keeping the guy. I'm not keeping him. He's fired." Right? So they could. Me and B kind of argued about whether or not Kyle Shanahan is the right guy moving forward. I think he's taking the team as far as he could take them.
Oh no, my friend. We're not arguing about whether or not he's the right guy. He's not the right guy. I said he's going to stay there. He's not the right guy.
Okay. So I still think he gets fired. But let's look at both scenarios. One, let's look at the scenario where he stays. Mm-hmm. If he stays, or somebody else comes in there, you're looking at a quarterback that you have to pay a lot of money to, and the talent around him is starting to get older. Yes, I understand some players got hurt and they'll be back healthy next year. That helps. But their Super Bowl window is starting to close. You got Deebo Samuel, who's a little bit older. I don't think he's washed, right? He didn't have a great year, but I don't think he's washed. But he's getting older. Mm-hmm. You got Trent Williams, who he came to the team already older.
Yep.
Right. I think Kittle's a little bit older too, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure. He's still one of the top tight ends.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. But you had these guys that are a little bit older. Maybe they decline a little bit. Yes, they got some younger guys that they're trying to build up. They're trying to keep it going. But Christian McCaffrey too, older, coming off an injury. These are guys that really carried the team. Like they had so much talent that it wasn't fair. And if those guys start to slip even a little bit, like we're seeing it this year, Brock Purdy can't really hold it down. That's tough. Like they really needed him, even with the injuries, they needed him to play well, right? Mm-hmm. Because we saw it here in Baltimore. Like, yes, it's hard to compare somebody like him to Lamar Jackson because he's not on that level. But Lamar started out with absolutely no talent on the team, and still played great. Got an MVP, right? 2 MVPs, and you look at the top quarterbacks. Most of them have some help. He has a lot of help, but when your talent gets dinged up a little bit, not having the best year, and you're not picking up your level of play, it's hard to go and give somebody that big of a contract. I say they move on. I think they get cold feet, especially if Kyle has to come back, and he's definitely going to be on a hot seat. I wouldn't. I'm not invested in that. We got to look somewhere else.
Okay, I think that obviously they're going to stay, and I think that they are going to re-sign Brock Purdy. I think that Kyle Shanahan's a choker, yes, but he is one of the most productive coaches or winningest coaches in the NFL right now. I don't think that the 49ers organization will believe that they can get a better coach than Kyle Shanahan. So he'll be back. Brock Purdy will be back because NFL organizations are cowards, particularly at the quarterback spot. They look and they say, hey, we've got this guy. He can play. We know for a fact we can get to the Super Bowl with him because he's done it. Mm-hmm. We got to a conference championship as well another year. And yes, okay, Deebo, he didn't have a great year, but if you look at Deebo's career, he's had one really, really great year, and the rest of the years were more or closer to what he did this season. Right. That's kind of what he's been. He had that one outlier year. Brandon Ayuk isn't old. He tore his ACL. He'll be back off of that, and you expect him to play at a high level. They know that they have a number 2 quality receiver in Jawan Jennings, who went for about 850 yards this year, 6 or 7 touchdowns, something like that. They just drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round, who, yeah, he didn't produce a whole lot this year, but he got shot in the offseason. And he came on towards the end of the year. He had over 100 yards, I believe, in their game this past weekend.
Yes.
So they have young talent there. They also brought in Jacob Cowling. We'll see how that goes over the next year or two. But they have young guys who can step up and fill the void for Deebo Samuel. In terms of Christian McCaffrey, they have 3 or 4 guys who can run. Now, no, nobody's Christian McCaffrey, but they have guys who can run effectively in that system. Who've shown it this year? Jordan Mason showed it this year. Isaac Guerrero showed it this year. And worst case scenario, you can go and draft another running back, right? I think their biggest issues in terms of the team and still being a Super Bowl contender are going to be on defense, where it's harder to keep that group together. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of talent there. Most of it's signed, but like I said, they're getting older. They've had injuries here and there. But I don't think that they're going to be a Super Bowl team. But I don't think that you're going to take a team as talented as San Francisco still is and just throw it away and start over. I don't think they're going to look to blow that up. They're still, in terms of talent alone, they're still a top 5 team in the NFL. They got hit with a lot of injuries this year. And you can look at Brock Purdy and you can say, hey, third year, I believe third or fourth year, third year, I think. He should have been able to step up and play better at this point with some of those guys hurt, right? And kind of, like I said, pick up the slack a little bit for not having Ayuk there, for Samuel having a down year, not having Christian McCaffrey. And that's true if you're talking about a top-level quarterback, but he's not. He's a guy. He's a guy who got dropped into a great situation, and he's a guy who listened pretty well to his coach, right? The question is, do you think you can go out there and pick up a guy this offseason who can take you to the Super Bowl? And the answer is going to be no. Just like the answer was no in LA with Jared Goff, who they did not like, but gave a bunch of money to anyway until they found their option. The same way the answer was no in Philadelphia, who they had the most toxic quarterback apparently in the history of the NFL and paid him anyway until they could find a replacement.
You don't think, given the season that he's had, they wouldn't consider picking back up Sam Darnold?
No, I think somebody, if there were the case, like if they were going to consider that, they would have just kept him. But they had Sam Darnold in the building, and they let him walk right out the building too.
They did, because they had Brock, and they probably figured Brock could be that guy, but he's showing you that he's not really that guy. You can get Sam Darnold for cheaper than Brock, and Sam Darnold has already been in the building. With town around him, he can play well as well. He's doing it right now. He's playing better than Brock is.
Here's the thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think that's something that they have to consider if we're talking about can you win without him. Yeah, I think there's some quarterbacks available that they'll look at and say he's just as good as Brock Purdy.
Here's the thing. There are, I think, a lot of quarterbacks who are just as good as Brock Purdy. Yeah. I think there's a good number of quarterbacks who are better than Brock Purdy. I think several of them are available, but it's still going to be a struggle for you to let go and try to bring one of those other people in and plug them in and see if it works when you know already that this works. Yeah. You know it works for Brock Purdy. Now, you brought up Sam Darnold. He was next on the list in the Minnesota Vikings. He's 14-2 right now, having a fantastic season. Over 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Like I said, they're 14-2. The thing with Sam Darnold, and I hate to say this because I like Sam Darnold a lot. I liked him back at USC. I think this is fool's gold. I think that he landed in a spot where you have a great offensive line. You have great pass catchers. I mean, you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenstein. You have a great running back in Aaron Jones. And the defense has been playing very, very well. Now, how do you have a great offensive line, a great coach by all from what everybody says, in Kevin O'Connell, right? You have a great offensive line, a great coach, great wide receivers, guys like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison that I mentioned, and you've still been sacked 46 times. The answer to that question, my friends, is you can't make a decision. And you're going to leave Minnesota because they are not going to re-sign you. You're going to leave Minnesota, you're going to land somewhere else where you don't have the same kind of support, and it's going to fall apart.
I would argue that he's starting to make better decisions because those sacks, some in part, represent some of the bad decisions he used to make, right? I was going to throw, I was starting to see ghosts. I was going to do something stupid. Let me hold the ball and take the hit so I don't do anything dumb. That's baby steps. That's step one towards changing and maturing and starting to make those right decisions. He's gonna grow out of that. Okay, he'll understand.
Is 7 full years into his NFL career.
He needs a little more time. It took Rich Gannon 15 years.
but exactly, right? Because Rich Gannon wasn't good. And at the end of his career, he got dropped into a team with Jerry Rice and Tim Brown.
He was an MVP. Okay, yeah. He was an MVP. Like I said, there's a few places he could end up. I think I think the 49ers will take a serious look at him. The Giants, the Jets, like a lot of teams will take a look at him and say he could fit here, especially the Jets, because the Jets seemingly have everything that they need to win outside of quarterback. Right? You look at the defense. I don't know. I mean, what's the weakness on defense? Their defense is pretty good.
I mean, CJ Mosley got hurt. That's what really derailed them.
Yeah, CJ Mosley's always hurt, man, but they're still a good defense. Like they got a lot of talent on that side of the ball.
They're still
offense.
Defense.
Yeah, offense. I don't know what the offensive line is like, but
John Simpson.
Well, they got John
Morgan
Simpson,
Moses.
They got Elijah Vera Tucker.
Tyron Smith is hurt again.
So they need to work on the offensive line a bit, but they have,
wide
receivers, all the
receivers
weapons you could want.
Yeah. That's
Running backs.
They might be a reunion there. That's possible. There's going to be a few suitors for Sam Darnold. He's going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
He is, absolutely, and like I say, he's going to fleece somebody, and I'm going to be sad about it because I want Sam to succeed. Hendo, what do you think on Sam?
Sam is going to Seattle.
Wow.
Seattle, okay.
Just gonna kick my man Gino out in the cold, huh? All right, that's fine.
Hey, the head coach wants who he wants.
Sam Darnold.
They're looking at the right here, right now.
After he saw Lamar Jackson close up.
I mean, what are his other options?
I mean, Gino.
I think, B has a point there. After coach on team with Lamar Jackson, I think your standards will be a little bit higher in terms of quarterback. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to just pick up just anybody.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I would hope so, but never know. I'm gonna stick with Sam Darnold. He's not in Minnesota next year. They handed over to JJ McCarthy and put that money that they would have saved into the rest of the roster. And Sam is hitting free agency and getting wined and dined. It would be hilarious to me if he signed back. Not hilarious, but it would be funny if he went back to the Jets and went back to the old Sam Darnold as well. That they could possibly get burned on this guy twice. Next up, this one hurts. Don't like this one. Anthony Richardson, the franchise quarterback allegedly of the Indianapolis Colts, who got benched earlier this season. They say he got benched because of erratic play. The timing suggests that he got benched because he took himself out of a game when he was tired for a third and long play. But regardless, this is a guy who they drafted very high. He's the most athletic quarterback ever tested at the combine. He has several wow plays every game. Just an unbelievable arm. Unbelievable. And not just arm strength. He's very accurate, just sporadically, right? Which I know sounds off, but yeah, he can drop it into a bucket 60 yards downfield, or he can miss that screen. He's a guy who you drafted knowing that he needed a lot of development because he did not have the reps. He didn't have the reps in high school. He didn't have the reps in college. He just had not played very much. And that there's one thing that's consistent in quarterback success is that they have a lot of reps before they get to the NFL. He's, he had some injury issues in his first season. He had several concussions, or a couple concussions. He doesn't look like he's gotten significantly better in his second season, right? So what do you guys think? Do you think that they start to move on from Anthony Richardson, maybe bring in some competition, or do you think they're going to stick it out and kind of follow the plan that they had to have had in place when they drafted him, knowing that he needed a lot of development?
I think that they're going to cut him. They're going to cut him from his starting job to the bench and bring in somebody that can play. I mean, it's listen, it's apparent. He has great athleticism, and he is the only guy I've known in NFL history that can pass for 600 yards off of 9 completions. Like, it's amazing how many yards he gets on.
My dude is out here playing Tecmo Super Bowl.
He just launches it, and you like, oh, okay. But I just think that he isn't bringing to the table what they thought he would. And I know a lot of people were high on him. I wasn't that high on him. I know the Panthers and Brodny wanted to draft him. I wasn't that high on him. He just didn't have the college experience. He doesn't have experience reading defenses. His accuracy is terrible. So I think they're going to bring somebody in to maybe mentor him. Joe Flacco wasn't the guy. He throws interceptions too, so that's the wrong guy to bring in to mentor somebody. I think they're going to bring in a real mentor and maybe an offensive coordinator or a QB coach that can kind of help him develop. He was drafted too high for them to give up on him this early. So I just think that they're just going to sit him, maybe hope that they can get a Bryce Young effect, and he can come back in later on and resume his career.
Yeah, I think Shane Steichen needs to get fired. I'm sorry, because you drafted him like you said, you drafted him way too high. He's going into his second year. You knew he needed time to develop, but you threw him out there anyway, right? When you get somebody like that, you have to have a plan. If he's not ready, you should know that when you draft him. Okay, we drafted him high, but he's gonna have to sit for a year, maybe 2. You know, we gotta work on some things, but he's going to be our quarterback. We have to get somebody that we know can hold it down in the meantime. Joe Flacco is not part of your plan. Joe Flacco is there to collect checks. Okay, you know, every now and then he'll win a game or 2, but don't think he gonna last the whole season. So the fact that you weren't serious about getting an actual starting quarterback tells me you didn't have a plan to develop Anthony Richardson. You just thought he can go out there and play and he'll develop as the seasons went along. Mm-hmm. He didn't look this bad last year. He showed some promise, before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. And you thought, okay, he'll pick it up this year. He regressed. It's fine. Work through it. He took himself out for a play. I don't care. Work through it. Okay, you benched him for a game to kind of teach him a lesson, whatever. But he's your quarterback and you have to make it work. And because of how Dave Canales has handled the Bryce Young situation, I'm putting more scrutiny on you, right? Because, Bryce Young looked absolutely terrible. He needed to sit down for a couple games, and then he turned it around. It was night and day. All of a sudden, he can read the blitzes. He can pick up the blitzes. He's getting the ball out on time. Like, everything is clicking. Why isn't it clicking for Anthony Richardson? Now, I know not everybody's built the same, but you gotta, coaches got to be held accountable here, right? Like, you can't like that's too high of a draft pick for you to say he ain't it after 2 years. No. If you're saying that, you might be right, but then you got to go because you picked him. You did you and your staff. GM can go too. You did your due diligence. And you picked this guy, and you want to be out of him. It didn't even take you 2 years, right? We're talking about 1.5 years, and you're ready to quit on him. That says a lot about you as a coaching staff and a front office. So if this is what we're talking about, then Shane Steichen needs to go.
Yeah, I think that they should have kept Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is he's a guy who can go out there and start for you. You can win some games.
Bridge quarterback,
but he's not threatening in any way. Yeah, he's not going to establish himself as your quarterback in the future.
Right.
Like you let Gardner Minshew play. You develop Anthony Richardson as much as you can off the field, and then you put him in and you ride it out because you knew he needed a ton of reps before he was really going to be ready to be your starting quarterback. Like I said, if you're going to draft a guy that you know is a project, then you got to do the work.
Yep.
You can't draft a guy who's a project and then pretend a week later that you drafted a finished product. And that's what NFL teams do far too often. The Vikings did it with Cordero Patterson. They're like, oh yeah, he's an athlete. He's not a great wide receiver, but he's a project, but you get the ball in his hands and he's great. And then they put the ball in his hands and they're like, okay, you're great with the ball in your hands, but why can't you run routes? And they're like, well, you knew that. Why did you draft me if this was a problem? And they're like, I don't know, man, you're cut. You know, like it's just I don't know. Yeah, but you know, it's the lack of job security. That's why the most successful organizations are the ones who are aligned with the owner, the GM, and the coach, and they don't rush into changes, which is the only argument, mind you, for John Harbaugh still having a job.
Yeah.
That's the only one. But yeah, for Anthony Richardson, I think I agree with Hendo. I think he goes to the bench. I think they bring somebody in, and we'll see. You know, he's going to be in a bit of limbo next season. I think. I think Shane Steichen is going to be trying to save his job, and that doesn't equal Anthony Richardson being on the field. Now, being on the field, taking yourself off the field, you know, those are the kind of things that you want to be out there every play, right? Absolutely. And for those that don't know, the Anthony Richardson thing, he'd been running a lot because they don't have a great O-line, and that's the main way they can move the ball when he's in the game. And he was dead tired. It was 3rd and long, and he said, "Yo, I got to come out. I can't do it." He came out of the game. They put in the backup quarterback. They ran the ball, and then that got out there. And he told the media that he came out because he was tired, and that turned into a whole viral storm of people saying you can never do that. Mm-hmm. And then Aaron Rodgers.
Hold on, you gotta do the stinger.
No, we're not to that part yet, because we're still talking about the QB carousel. Okay. Then Aaron Rodgers, said, "Hey, we're kind of getting our ass kicked. Isn't it time for Tyrod to be taking these hits?" And Tyrod went in, and Tyrod immediately scored a couple touchdowns where Aaron Rodgers had thrown a couple interceptions. But listen, that's neither here nor there for right now. What we're talking about is 2025, and whether or not my man has one more ayahuasca retreat in him to turn this team around, or if the New York Jets are going to move on from Aaron Rodgers altogether and try to start over from what seemed at the time to be a slam dunk. Hey, he said, "Hey man, we can get Aaron Rodgers in here with this defense and these weapons. We're going to win a Super Bowl." Turns out what you're going to win is like 5 games. Little underwhelming. You're going to win 5 games. You're going to bring in all his friends. He's going to be a dick to your coach. He's going to get your coach fired. And then he's going to act like none of it was his fault.
Yep.
Now, the rumor in New York is that your young, budding superstar wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, is saying that if Aaron Rodgers is back next season, you need to trade me. With that in mind, is Aaron Rodgers back next season for the New York Jets?
I don't know, man. Like the answer should be no. He's completely washed. He's out of there. But Woody Johnson, I don't know, man. It's not. I would say 70% yes, he's gone. There's a 30% chance that he comes back though, and they trade Garrett Wilson.
Definitely, he's not coming back. He's gone. Listen, they won 7 games with Zach Wilson. So you get this Hall of Fame player who's supposed to have been an upgrade, who's supposed to upgrade the only weakness you had on your team, and you regress. Now you're not only have you regressed offensively, you're disjointed as a team. You got your head coach fired, you got your offensive coordinator demoted. Like your wide receiver that was your best friend last year now despises you. This is what Aaron Rodgers has done in less than 1 full season of playing. So yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, I think that he has to be gone because, there's a question if, he's out there and he's playing well and you're winning games, and maybe there's just some friction with him and certain teammates or him and the coach or whatever. But he is garbage. He's a terrible quarterback at this point in his career. There's no redeeming qualities to having Aaron Rodgers on your roster at this point. It's only going to be drama from here on out. And there's no reason to keep that around. You already lost a good coach because of it. A guy who won 7 games with Zach Wilson. You're on the verge of losing a great young wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. And I would not be surprised if Breece Hall was feeling similarly, because you don't give him the ball either. You're going to let Aaron Rodgers destroy what is otherwise a pretty talented young team.
Well, I don't want you getting too far into it, because we're really about to go in on Aaron Rodgers in this next segment.
Well, you don't know. This is just referring to him as a player and what you're going to do for your team next season.
Yeah.
Because like you're going to rub people the wrong way. You always rub people the wrong way if you have bad players holding starting positions and holding the team back.
Yeah.
So I think he's gone. I think they cut him. I think they cut him the very first chance they get, and they throw themselves into the QB carousel to try and upgrade and take advantage of this roster that they've built that should be winning games and should be competing.
All right. Okay. Well, we just spoke about Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to speak more about Aaron Rodgers, because guess what? The algorithm likes when we talk about Aaron Rodgers. A lot of a lot of the Aaron Rodgers truth tellers out there came to his aid when we posted a clip about him earlier this week. All right, and we're gonna post some more. Okay, we're gonna talk about him in the court of public opinion, which is starting right now. All rise, all rise. Court is now in session. All right, this is the first case for 2025. We have Aaron Rodgers versus Anthony Richardson. Now, what are the two of those? Well, like, what's going on with them? Did they got some beef? Like, did he say something about Anthony Richardson? No, but his boy Pat McAfee had a lot to say about Anthony Richardson. I'll put the tweet in there when afterwards and post production. But he essentially just said, "Hey, I was right about this guy. He wasn't ready to play. He took himself out of the game. That doesn't happen on NFL teams, and he's just not ready to play." And he had a lot of things to say about Anthony Richardson and how him not being ready, and that's hurting the team and all this stuff, right? However, there was a game played over the weekend between the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills, in which Aaron Rodgers, I don't have the numbers in front of me, he played very poorly, historically bad, in fact. And Aaron Rodgers decided, I don't want to play this game anymore. He rage quit, okay? For all you gamers out there, he rage quit.
12 for 18, 112 yards, 2 interceptions, was sacked 4 times, and had a QBR of 1.3.
Yeah, 1.3. That's so bad. That's so bad. But saw a clip of Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson on Nightcap, and Shannon Sharp essentially said the same thing that we're talking about right now. Read his stats and everything, and read some quotes from Aaron Rodgers after the game, because there's a lot of quotes after that game. Players were not happy. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't be. You're talking about a guy who got there and decided, I'm the man. I know how to win. You don't know how to win. Bring Alan Lazard. Sign him. He's my friend. Okay, you got Alan Lazard. Now I want you to fire the coach because I don't like him. I've only played 3 games with him, but I don't like him. Okay, and you're gonna fire him. You're gonna have this other guy be the interim head coach. I want you to trade for Devontae Adams because he's my other friend. I want you to get rid of Mike Williams, and now I'm about to be terrible. Okay, now you're about to get the worst of me. Mm-hmm. So obviously, a coach who was really liked by the players, that was already an unpopular move, and now you're not winning. Okay, so they had a lot to say about Aaron Rodgers, but there was a quote that Aaron Rodgers has said about, and he pretty much told on himself that he said, "Take me out the game." Shannon Sharp spoke about that, and Chad Johnson compared that to the Anthony Richardson situation. I'll play that real quick.
Aaron Rodgers had a 1.2 QBR today versus the Bills. It was one of the 20 worst games by a quarterback in NFL history. It was the worst game since Davis Mills in 2021. The Bills forced 3 turnovers, notched the safety, sacked Aaron Rodgers 4 times. Rodgers had a forgettable game with season lows in passing yards, 112, quarterback rating 44. Aaron Rodgers benched himself in the fourth quarter, essentially saying, you know what, Ocho, this is what he said. I mean, it was 33-0. We're sitting there, and I said, at some point, you probably go to Tyrod. Huh?
Hey, so I can ask you a question?
Sure.
Hey,
Look,
chat,
I would love you to ask me a question.
Hey, chat, listen to me. Is this any different than Anthony Richardson?
Absolutely not.
Saying he was tired and coming out the game, and Aaron Rodgers saying, you know what, I'm going to bench myself, I guess what, maybe based on my play, when there's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
So there it is. That's the question for the audience and everybody that's watching this on the premiere. Do you see a difference between what Aaron Rodgers did and what Anthony Richardson did? I already know what the Aaron Rodgers defenders are going to say. Oh, it's different. It was a blowout. The game was already over. Anthony Richardson took himself out when the game was still competitive. That was one play. He didn't say, hey, I quit. Yeah. He came off for a breather because you're running him to death. All right. He didn't quit. Aaron Rodgers quit. And also I want to add, Sauce Gardner alluded to that. Alluded to that in his post game presser. He didn't say a name, but he said some people have already checked out. Yeah. I don't think he was talking about the defense. I don't think he was talking about Breece Hall. I don't think he was talking about Garrett Wilson or anybody else on the offense other than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no, it is different for all the reasons you said. Anthony Richardson didn't want to come out of the game. He felt he couldn't play anymore, and he needed that breather. Players do that all the time. Right. They made a huge deal about it because he plays quarterback, and you don't typically see that at the quarterback position. But you also don't typically run your quarterback every single play until he's exhausted either. Right. But every time, watch a running back run 60 yards, they come out. They don't get back in the huddle. Right? Aaron Rodgers said, "This ain't fun. Not here for this. Send Tyrod in there to get his ass kicked." And that's essentially all that was. He's like, "Yeah, this is. I don't like the way I'm playing. I don't like the way they're hitting me. I don't think obviously we can't come back at this point. Let Tyrod take these hits. He's less important than I am."
Yes,
that's essentially what he's saying.
Yes, listen, I agree. Anthony Richardson, he came out one play. Sometimes you just get tired. Sometimes you just run consecutive plays and you just need a breather. Okay, give it to the running back. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is in that one play. Come back and refresh, go on with the drive. What Aaron Rodgers did was he showed a lack of leadership. You're the one coming there talking about you're the missing piece to this team and you're going to take them to the next level. But yet still in a game that you're losing, you're showing these guys that if things aren't going my way, I don't care. I'm just going to give up, walk away, and let somebody else handle my responsibilities. He's not showing the guys what he said that he came there to do. And in his little documentary, he tried to pose like he was just this all-time leader. And I think a lot of people alluded to this on some talk shows when they said Aaron Rodgers isn't the leader that you think he is, because a lot of his wide receivers do not really care for him. And I think we're starting to see that now with Garrett Wilson. That's why he's asking for a trade if Aaron Rodgers comes back, because he's a cancer to this team. You can't tell me that as bad as Zach Wilson was last year. He never quit on the team. He just couldn't play well. But Aaron Rodgers, one of the all-time greats, the guy that they said is the greatest talent, the greatest arm talent in the NFL ever, quit on a team. So you already know how I'm voting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. What Aaron Rodgers did is so much worse than what Anthony Richardson did. For Pat McAfee to use his Twitter premium to write a whole article on Twitter about Anthony Richardson. Meanwhile, you have your paid friend Go out there, take shots at the media, take shots at former players, take shots at Ryan Clark, and then go out there and have one of his worst games ever, have one of the worst statistical games in NFL history. Take yourself out the game, have players allude to you quitting. You have players saying, can't wait for free agency. I thought this was going to be a Super Bowl caliber team, but now I can't wait for free agency. You got Garrett Wilson saying, if this guy is back next year, I don't want to be here, right? Like, that says a whole lot about a guy that's supposed to be there. He's supposed to be the key component for your Super Bowl team, for your Super Bowl run. He came in there, got rid of a coach that everybody liked, got the GM fired. Brought in a good wide receiver. Like, look, Devontae Adams is an excellent wide receiver, but you push out another wide receiver to bring him in. You pissed off a young, really good wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. Like, he just made that whole situation toxic, and you're not winning.
And you can't get the ball to Devontae, by the way,
or anybody.
Yeah. So I just think it's funny that McAfee would do that, knowing that he pays somebody to come on his show weekly or however often he comes on, who's actively just destroying his team from within. I think there's no comparison here. A-Rod is far worse. Anthony Richardson is in his second year. He needs guidance. Okay, he's not out there saying get this person fired and bring this person in, all doing all this stuff. And to be honest, playing better than Aaron Rodgers. That's the funny thing. You can say what you want about him. He's playing better than Aaron Rodgers. You can't get worse than 1 or 1.7 in QB rating.
3.
Yeah. So, what do you say, B?
Yeah, no, Aaron Rodgers is a dirtbag. He's a narcissist. He doesn't have the talent to make people put up with him anymore. Pat McAfee is a dirtbag for having him on his show, paying him to come on his show and spread misinformation about everything, along with taking shots at former players and media and whatnot. And Pat McAfee doesn't have an ounce of talent in what he's doing right now. Like, he kind of lets other people do the thing, and he's loud, and I don't know. The whole thing is just, it's very, very off-putting. He doesn't really have anything to say himself. He brings Aaron on and just lets him spew nonsense, and he's just kind of spreading because people in this country, the audiences in this country, don't really want better, right? They just want loud and easily digestible, and hey, this is something I can repeat later. And you're not looking for anything more nuanced than what Pat McAfee can bring you.
Yeah, all good points. So I think this is open and shut. We'll let the chat, just for fun, the voting isn't going to be live, obviously, but put in the chat if you think Aaron Rodgers is worse, put hashtag A-Rod. If you think Anthony Richardson's situation is worse, put hashtag A-Rich. All right, A-Rod if that's the worst scenario, or A-Rich if you think that's the worst scenario. We'll do it that way. All right. And that it? I think
that is it. It's time to get out of here.
It is time to get out of here. Listen, we're gonna record a quick overtime show because we gotta take care of our patrons. All right. If you want to be a part of that, patreon.com/LBHT Show for as little as $5 a month. You can get access to the overtime show and our Discord. Also, look at our show from last week. Okay, our recorded show from last week. There's a pin link in the comments that will give you 1 month free of Patreon. There's limited amounts of those, so go over there, get yours, redeem it, and you can check out what we're talking about. Okay, I think this is gonna be a fun one, a quick one, but it'll be a fun one. All right, so B is ready. Hendo,
Yes,
before
sir.
we go, let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me at the Rogue Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky. I'll be coming up with something. Who knows? We'll see. New year, new me. So they say.
All right. Yes. And the three of us are going to be working on something brand new for you guys in 2025. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're following all of us on all of our social medias. Hendo's at Rogue Pod. For us, it's at LBHT Show everywhere, including Blue Sky. All right. So B is ready. We are out of here. Happy New Year's, everybody. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Be safe.